Hey, what's up, lovely people? It's the Lemesis, your nemesis, but you can call me Lem. I'm here today to discuss a little bit of Marvel Snap. I've labeled this video a game I used to love, and before I wanted to do this video, I did a little research because I had some opinions that wanted to make sure they were accurate, and and I realized that a lot of my opinions on the game or the state of the game was not accurate, but I know my feelings are still the same. So I'm going to preface this with just saying from the jump that I might be alone on this, but I'm making this video just because I've created content for Marvel Snap. I've really enjoyed a lot of Marvel Snap in the past, and I'm at the point where I think I'm fully ready to let it go. It's been slowly but surely coming to this point, kind of getting to a head, and I'm definitely at that point to let this game go. So, and I mean, I haven't spent more than $10 on this game in the last 3 months. I want to say 3 months or so. So yeah, that's been fun. But let's get going and go over some of the issues that I have with the game to describe why I used to love this game and where I think the game kind of dropped the ball. So I'm just going to say it outright. I think the game dropped the ball with the nerfs, and I think the second dinner dropped the ball with not releasing cards sooner enough. I think everything that they have improved on over the months have taken too much time to get to this particular point where they feel the game is healthy. And when you look at the numbers, and you go online to like data.ai and other websites, it looks like they're consistently getting people to download the game. People are still playing the game, but I think everyone's going to eventually get to a point, in my opinion, where I'm at. And just to give you a little background, I'm one of those players that invested heavily into this game. So I know my experience was much better than your experience. The average person listening to this probably did not spend as much money on the game that I did. I spent thousands on Marvel Snap, and I was having a blast. Now, was I paid to win? Probably, but I wasn't paid to win. Like, I wasn't buying the cards so that I could win. I was buying the cards because Second Dinner didn't have a mechanism in place for me to get the cards fast enough for me to enjoy the game. And I had like this very addictive like attachment to the game, which is what led me to spend as much. Now, let's put it this way. The money I spent, I can afford. You know, I'm blessed and highly favored and deeply loved. So it's not like the money that I spent was ill-advised and put me in debt or anything crazy like that. But definitely that addictive quality that I had with the game has worn off tremendously. It's not even close to where it used to be. And I did say this earlier, $10 in the last 3 months. Actually, I would say $30 in the last 3 months because I've been spending $10 a month on the monthly card. So I will say that I pay the $10 for the monthly card. Other than that, I don't spend nearly as much as I would. I would spend maybe $400 or $500+ a month since the game has been out. So it's kind of outrageous, but I was doing that because the game was fun. There were cards that I wanted to play with. It was exciting. And then over time, these nerfs and changes or lack of changes or lack of cards being released, it just drained me of everything that I had. Every ounce that I had into this game, it went away. And just to give you a little background too, I played before I started playing Marvel Snap. Of course, we played many other games or gamers. There was a game called Marvel Avengers that was on multiple consoles, and I was playing the heck out of that game, and I invested a decent amount of money in that game. Not nearly as much as I did in Marvel Snap, but a good amount over a span of a few years. And I spent thousands and thousands of hours in that game, Very similar to the way I played Marvel Snap. I spent hours and hours. I mean, sometimes, you go back in the mobile numbers, you would see me spend 8 hours plus a day playing Marvel Snap, just to give you the background on where I'm coming from. And so I was, very familiar with the game, hit Infinite quite a bit. And the reason why I bring up Marvel Avengers is because I put in many years, or 2.5 years with that game, hoping that the company would turn it around, hoping that they would make the changes. And yeah, I don't see Second Dinner. I don't see Second Dinner making that change. One, it's only on a mobile platform and your PC. So the amount of people who are going to get to play the game is really limited, because before Marvel Snap, I wasn't really a mobile player. I want to say the games that I played before on my mobile phone was like, what, Plants vs. Zombies 2? And that was years ago when I was playing that. So to me, it's already really hard, in my opinion, to get people to acknowledge the mobile device as like a legitimate gaming device. I'm not saying people don't play mobile games. I'm not implying that there aren't millions or maybe billions of people doing it. All I'm saying is I'm a gamer that plays on the consoles, on the PC, and on the mobile phone. And I think the majority of true gamers who play on like the PC or on the console probably don't play as much on their mobile phone. So now I might be wrong. You can fact check me. I don't really care. But that's what I believe has been my experience from what I've seen. That you don't really have that. It's kind of like the guys who like cars and who like video games, or the guys who like to play sports, who like to watch sports. You always find like this trend of like, bro, I don't watch sports, I play sports. And there's just a group of dudes who just don't play sports and they just watch sports, and vice versa. So that's really all I'm getting at, is that there are a lot of people, I think, who probably watch the sport more than play the sport, which is why you don't have like 1 million NBA basketball players in the league, right? So same thing here. I think that there's a lot of people who play video games, but they don't necessarily play the majority of their gaming experience on their mobile phone. So that kind of makes it hard for a game like Marvel Snap to be as successful. Now, I'll say this, I'll preface this. Marvel Snap may not need a lot of money to be successful, which is why I think the numbers are different from my opinion when I did my research, because it sounds like they have a smart team. Their Second Dinner was efficient to, at the very least, say, all right, we can make this game and still be profitable, and maybe not make the game won't be the most popular. It won't be Genshin Impact. It won't be these mega mobile app type games, but it'll be successful enough to stay relevant. And I say that in air quotes because we can keep the lights on. So if that's what Marvel Snap intended, sure, then I guess the game is successful. But in my opinion, if the game is supposed to be successful, meaning it's popular and it's actually fun and it's one of the top most downloaded games of all time, that's where I think the game isn't successful at all. And I don't think it'll ever come close to that. And the reason why I say that is because I think Marvel is huge, right? You can't ignore the success of the video games. You can't ignore the success of the MCU. The fact that this Marvel Snap card game is not even close to exciting as the MCU or even the comics, or the video games, to me, that's a letdown, because I'm a Marvel fan. I'm here playing this game because I'm a Marvel fan, right? I come here, and not only do I want to play with characters that I've loved and grown up with, I want to play with characters I've never heard of before. I've never read up in the comic books. So the fact that I'm here and I'm even seeing the success that Marvel Snap has achieved, looking at some of the websites and the numbers, I'm still a little surprised that it's not as popular as I think it should be. I really think the game should be so much more popular than it is. And unfortunately, that's not the case. So, it is what it is. But let's go into some of the things that I don't like about the game and where it's ended up. And, you know, you can argue, you can debate. This is just my take. This is my opinion. And I think there's a lot of proof to validate what I've been saying. And I've been saying this for a long time. I've been saying this back in like February of this year. And the game's only been out since last year, October. Now, the game was on beta mode early last year, but I've been saying this for quite some time. So I think it's too late for Marvel Snap, or too late for Second Dinner, especially for a player like myself. And I do think people are going to run into the same conclusion, because I think that Marvel Snap or Second Dinner keeps doing the same thing. So if they're getting new players, I would love to see their retention, because I'm sure that it's dropping off quite a bit. I don't think it's really that fun. So let me explain why. So I'm just going to rattle off a couple cards. I'm going to rattle off quite a bit of cards and then just describe what I think they've messed up with all of these cards and the changes that they've made. And then we'll just talk about like overall philosophy, game modes, and my experience. So cards that I think they got wrong, that they should have never changed, are, and I'm gonna start off with the one that most people hated, if not, no, not all, because I loved it, but Leader, Stature, Black Bolt, Leech, Arrow, Galactus, the Space Stone from Thanos, Silver Surfer, Zabu, recently Gambit, Wasp, Hulk, Lizard, Beast, Spider-Man, Lockjaw, Shuri, and then and then I'll leave those other cards for others. So the reason why I have an issue with all of these cards being changed, and I'm sure I'm missing some, is because the philosophy behind Marvel Snap, and I've said this multiple times, you can go check my older videos. What Second Dinner has done is, I think they've created a problem and then generated a solution when the solution was always there and there was never a problem. So what I mean by that is, they came out with a new card. I think this is all compounding. Marvel Snap has an issue with drip feeding cards into the game. I think they do that because they know that the player retention rate of existing players continually playing is probably not as strong as getting newer players. So if they keep drip feeding new cards, that keeps people who are slightly interested in the game and also new players interested in the game wanting to play, because every single week some new card is coming, which means, and this is to me why it's not a strong point, it's a weak point, is that the game, they know that the game is not as popular or as exciting as other games like Hearthstone or other games like, you know, any other card game you can think of. That, again, I'm here for because of Marvel. I am not here because of mobile card games. But those card games have big drops, right? They would have a drop for a season. They would have one season. Not a season isn't a month. A season would be 4 months, and they would drop hundreds of cards into the game. When they would drop hundreds of cards into the game, there was enough variety in those cards in order for people to find interest in play, right? Well, this card game does the opposite. They drop one card a week, and they're constantly trying to change the meta from week to week. And that's the problem with the game, in my opinion. Constantly changing the meta, and here's what I mean by that. I don't think that a card game the meta should be dictated by the developers. And what I mean by that is, yeah, the developers will release cards, but if you do this in the logical order that I'm suggesting, it's not really being dictated by the developers. So what I think Marvel Snap knows and suffers from is a lack of creativity in creating unique cards. I really don't think they have hundreds and hundreds of cards that they've already created that they're just so excited to release. I think they're struggling with creativity, which is why they're slowly releasing cards. and then always constantly changing those said cards every single other week or every other month. I think that's why they're doing that, because they don't have the ability to drop 500 cards, 200 cards, 300 cards. They don't have that many creative cards that they can just drop all at once. And that to me is the problem, because cards like Leader, in my opinion, they had the solution for Leader, and you're seeing that now, right? I said this a long time ago, that we saw there was cards in the data mine, and it didn't make any sense that we weren't just getting those cards released when we should have gotten them released. We're getting those cards released months and months and months and months later. So, for instance, let's just start off with low-hanging fruit. There was cards like Cosmo that were in the game that didn't have any counters whatsoever. And it was really frustrating because this card went everywhere and it really poo-pooed your experience as you played the game. But this entire time, they had plans to release a card called Echo. And Echo is a direct counter to cards like Cosmo. And it made no sense why Marvel Snap didn't release this card sooner than later. Now, I could probably guess why Marvel Snap is taking so long to release this. And I guess an only valid excuse that I could honestly comprehend from them is if Marvel itself or Disney was restricting them to release the cards. So then that, to me, it would honestly negate everything that I'm saying. Then the issue is really with Marvel, and the issue is not really with Second Dinner. I doubt that's the case, but if that is the case, then yeah, you can refute everything that I'm saying. And I just think in the end, everything that I'm critiquing Second Dinner for, in that case, I would be wrong. But I still am right at the fact that I think the game's boring. If that's what they have to do, if that's what they have to accomplish in order for the game to be fun, because Marvel is just has their hands and involved in every little thing, then all right, my bad, I'm wrong, you're right. But in the end, the game is still boring. So then, Leader, right? There's a new card that's going to be released in September. And I think it's Eliath. And Eliath will destroy the way at the moment. This is the way the card is set up, and this is the issue that I'm having, is that there's a lot of cards that were either data mined and actually are accurate and came out after the fact that could have easily countered the quote unquote oppressive meta that was occurring at the time. But unfortunately, they did absolutely nothing to try to stop that. And that part like really bothers me, that like instead of actually releasing these cards, giving us the access to them so that we can counter specific cards in the deck like Silver Surfer, what did they do? They waited and waited, they nerfed Surfer, and then they drop Shadow King, right? So like we're gonna get to that. Silver Surfer was nerfed, Zabu was nerfed, and now in September we see that, well, first off, Shadow King's back in the game. So to me, it's like if Silver Surfer got nerfed, he was a 3-0, and he would give your other 3-cost cards +3. It makes sense to make Silver Surfer the old version of himself, because now we have Shadow King. Shadow King's the card that balances people playing Silver Surfer. So to me, all they had to do was release the cards that were needed to counter these cards. When Cosmo came out, we should have had Echo already. When Zabu came out, you know what we should have had? A card that's going to be released in September. There's a card for, what's his name? The guy from the Loki show. Let's pull it up real quick. We'll go to Marvel Snap Zone. And hopefully I can pull this up sooner than later. And let's get rid of that. We'll pull this up and I'll show you, but it's what's his name? The guy who played Owen Wilson. Not Owen. Is it Owen Wilson? Yeah, it is Owen Wilson. All right. Oh man, it's being mad slow right now, huh? I want to say Morbius, but it's not Morbius. It's Starts with an M. Hold on. Loki. You cast. Let's look up season 1. Because my computer's being really slow right now. So it's kind of awful. There we go. Mobius, not Morbius. So it's Mobius. So it's not too far off. So there's a few cards that are coming in September that are perfect for some of these cards that I'm talking about. So a card like Zabu could have easily been countered with Mobius. Mobius is perfect. I want to see if he's here. Is he on this list here? That's Echo. Echo would have stopped Cosmo. Let's see, is Mobius here? Let's look him up real quick. Man, I am struggling with like my computer right now. Well, let me just tell you what I know about it. You can look this up on Marvel Snap Zone later. But Mobius disables your opponent from having cards drop in their cost. So like, you know how great that would be to have a card like that? People play Zabu, and then all of a sudden you drop out Owen Wilson. Yeah, Mobius and Mobius. You drop this particular card down, and now it completely counters Zabu. So you see my point? Like, it looks really stupid. Your cost can't be increased. Your opponent's cost can't be reduced. So again, like, there are a bunch of cards in the game that have not been released. And it's funny because it feels like Marvel Snap still has an acquisitions issue, right? The new system that they have out with the super caches, whatever they call them, they're cool, right? Because I'm going to be frank with you. I opened up a super cache, or whatever you call it today, and I got Jean Grey on the first one. So that's really cool, right? Congratulations. Again, like I said earlier, I think it's too late, right? Those super caches are too late. Mobius is too late. Echo is too late. All of these cards are too late. And then nerfing Silver Surfer, too early. Nerfing Zabu, too early. Nerfing Galactus, Stature, Leech, Leader, all of these are too early. They do things too early, and they do other things too late. And it's very counterproductive for the company, in my opinion, because the fun factor of the game is lost. They nerfed Spider-Man, right? Why nerf Spider-Man? They nerfed Spider-Man, one, because Zabu was an issue, right? They nerfed Zabu because Spider-Man, you were locking him out with Absorbing Man and Spider-Man. But again, if you had Mobius, guess what happens, guys? And I would say make Mobius even more, right? If you drop the cost, you drop the power of Zabu, let him still do the reduced to 2 power, but then you increase the cost of Mobius, because now they can play a 2 cost, maybe 5, and they get a benefit of playing a 2/5, and now they can stop opponents from reducing the cost of their cards. It's only smart. See, like I could just tell that like the person who came up with these cards had that idea of like, yes, let's have these really over the top cards that are really, really fun, and then have really over the top counters so that everyone can still have their fun. Changing Galactus, changing Arrow, all these cards, all they're doing is they're making all of their cards in the game not fun to play. That's the opposite of what you should be doing. I want to have a bunch of options and they're all fun. They're all exciting. What they're doing is they have a bunch of options and they're all mediocre. Right? Remember when Black Bolt was like never used? And then when Stature dropped, no one used Stature and Black Bolt. And then out of the blue, 1 month, somebody created that deck, and then it became meta. And then it became something that went on Second Dinner's radar, and then they just nerfed it. You see the problem with that? That's very boring. That's ridiculous. The moment the community comes together and says, hey guys, there's this fun thing we want to do. Look, Dara JN, he came up with a cool deck. Someone else came up with a cool deck. let's play that deck. Everyone's playing it. And then what does Second Dinner do? They just remove it. They pull the rug from underneath you. I don't like that. And I think they're going to keep practicing that. And it's not logical, right? You keep changing the game as you release cards, but you're not taking into account future cards that you're releasing. So it would actually make more sense if you did nerf anything to release hundreds of cards at a time, see how the cards play with each other, and then if it got really oppressive, if you felt that you needed to make a change, then you nerf. But you're doing the opposite. You're releasing one card a week, the card's out for maybe a week, close to a month, and then you just nerf it. But then you come out the next month with a card that could have helped stop you from nerfing that card. So when you nerf Silver Surfer, all you had to do by nerfing Silver Surfer is just release Shadow King. But you dropped him into Series 5. Nobody could get him unless you spent hundreds of dollars at the time. So then it felt justified to get rid of Silver Surfer. But no, you should have just made the cards more accessible. Therefore, people could have used Shadow King, and the Silver Surfer meta would have just changed naturally, because people would have just seen people use Shadow King in the deck, shut you down, and voila. I don't need to see your Silver Surfer is not going to dominate me anymore. Same thing with Mobius. Zabu was ridiculous, right? But he was not ridiculous in a bad way. He was ridiculously awesome. Oh my gosh, what a wonderful card. Then all of a sudden, you nerf him. But then I see 7 months later, you're just going to give us Mobius. Could have used Mobius when we had Zabu. That's retarded. Black Bolt, a card that like nobody played with. And as soon as it becomes playable, you drop him in power. You do the same thing to Stature. Arrow was awesome. All your cards move to the left or to the right or in the middle, right? You could have a card like the Blob. When you play him, your cards can't be moved. And you're going to come out with something like that. And it's going to be next year, June. And you're going to go, wait, you didn't have to change Arrow either? You don't have to change Wasp. You don't have to change Hulk, Lizard, like they changed all of these cards, and you can tell they're misguided. They're taking your fun away. Do you understand? You're paying for a product. First off, the game's free. They're a business, right? When have you ever had anything taken away from you and you've had more fun? If anything, the more they give to you, the more fun you can have, the more variety, the more excitement. Yeah, let me take more from your paycheck and see how much more fun you could have. Let me take more from the excitement you did have. Let me take that away and let me see how well you do. I mean, we're human beings. We have dopamine responses in our brain based on being stimulated in a certain way. And I can guarantee you, the more they take away, the less you feel excited. Now, the YouTubers online can lie to you and pretend that like, we're good with this. Most of the time is because they're just getting paid and they have to look a certain way and speak a certain way. So yeah, if I was getting paid, I wouldn't be saying that either. I'd be telling you how great the game is. Why? Because you're directly impacting my paycheck. But you're not impacting my paycheck. I make good money by the grace of God. So I'm making these videos for free, which is why I'm sharing my opinion and I'm stating it like it is. This game is either too early or too late. And it's too boring. Spider-Man 2099. They pooped the bed on Spider-Man 2099. This card should have been awesome. But what did they do? You move it once and it can only destroy a card once. They limited Gambit. Same way. It's ridiculous. So here's what makes it so stupid. They've done it for one or two reasons, right? And I think this is the one reason, honestly. Because they have another card they're going to release that's going to do something like that. So they don't want to diminish that card. So it's almost like, again, they lack creativity. They don't know how to come out with a bunch of different types of cards. So what do? To just keep tweaking existing cards and then giving a new card that's almost a similar ability. So like when you look at the other cards that are going to be released in September, if I can really get this thing to move. The monster that was in Loki season 1 is a card, and it's a 5 cost 5 at the moment, so it's probably going to change. So what they've done with that card, and let me see if I can pull it up here on my left on this screen and not here, so I can just show you Silver Surfer here. So what this card is going to do is, on reveal, it will destroy cards that haven't been revealed at that location and cards that have been revealed at that location. Doesn't that sound like Leader? Doesn't that sound like a lot of cards that we might have had in the past, similar to Negasonic Teenage Warhead, right? That's not as good. It's just like, again, I'm comparing this, like, there's, you know, another game that I play a lot of, Diablo, and Diablo 4 is really good in my opinion. But even in Diablo 4, they do this, and you're seeing this with a lot of games across the board. They don't give you all of the game. They give you bits and pieces, just because it's either greed or they just lack creativity, or it might be both. But what they do is they take parts of the game and they lock it behind little crevices and corners, and you either have to play the game for a very long time just to get the full game unlocked. And when I say full game, I mean like the game of the way it was intended. Like when I talk about Diablo 4, I made a video about that. I explained that, like, you know, there's aspects in the game and that there are animations that are really boring, and you have to play for a long time to get the gear to make your hero look cool and do cool animations. You have to put hours in just to get that legendary gear to do that, right? Well, think what they're doing. They're kind of doing it in a different way. So instead of giving you one cool card because it's really awesome, they're thinking, man, I could take that one card and split it into 2 cards. So now I'm going to give you a Silver Surfer that's kind of weak, but then that other piece could be a totally new card. That's why I'm telling you that I think they lack that creativity, because why are you just creating new cards that sound similar to other cards and it's not drastically different? But then it's like, why is Leader not okay, but this card's okay? It's just silly to me. So again, I think this game, in my opinion, and again, I think I could be totally wrong about this. The numbers don't show that, but I think this game is just slowly dying. Because one, it didn't hit the peaks. I think it got up to like 18 million downloads. They say back in June of 2023, they were averaging roughly 24,000 downloads a day. Again, I'd love to see, and then like the active users, they only had about 8 million. So they've had like 16 to 18 million people download the game, and they have an average between the iOS, PC, and Android of roughly, well, PC is probably like 15K that probably downloaded somewhere around there, because that was the peak on Steam. I know there's other places you could get it, but still, even so, if in my opinion, you have 16 million people to 18 million people download your game, you're averaging roughly 8 million active users. I think this game is just slowly dying. You're already at 50% of the people who actually downloaded your game, and I don't see that number increasing drastically. That's the point. It's slowly dying. The game will die off, and I guess I'm just one of those unfortunate people that just got screwed, right? I spent a lot of money. I invested in this game, right? And I'm sure a lot of people will hear this and be like, well, just, you know, shut up. Like, who cares? I care because I love Marvel. I wanted to see this game successful, and I wanted to, most importantly, have a fun experience and a fun game. And unfortunately, I have not had that. And the last few things that I want to talk about as well, because I've talked mainly about the different types of cards, is that I still have the same problems with everything else. Too many bots on ladder, or cheating bots on ladder. There's not enough game modes. Conquest is so boring, bro. I know a lot of people might disagree with this, but think about it. You go on conquest mode and you go to the first battleground, and how many people do you play against? Snap on turn 1, and you snap on turn 1 just so that it's a 1-game experience so you can move on to silver. That tells you, man, that people want a game where a mode where they can just play a quick game and move out, because that's what Marvel Snap is. Marvel Snap is a quick game. You created a snap mechanic to make the game quick, and now you created a lengthy version of the game, and then you created, it's called Snap. It's called Marvel Snap, and somehow in Conquest mode, it's not Marvel Snap. It's like a Marvel song, right? It's not a quick snappy song. It's a long and long drawn out song, and it's terrible because the cards are designed for a surprise. So you can't play this like here's the thing, because there actually are quite a few things I wanted to talk about as well. One, you should be able to play with any number of cost cards and not have to choose between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cost cards. Here's what I mean. There's people who like create decks, and then they pick like 1 or 2 1-cost cards, 1 or 2 2-cost cards, 1 or 2 3-cost cards. I mean, look at my deck. It's the same way. 1, 2, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 2-cost cards, then 2 3-cost cards, 3 3-cost cards, 1 4-cost card, which makes Zabu look really stupid. Honestly, it should probably remove Zabu, or maybe add a 4-cost card. Then you got Professor X, 2 5-cost cards, and then you have 1 6-cost card. Well, I think that's part of the problem with the game. Wouldn't it make more sense if you had so much flexibility where you could play an entire deck of 1-cost cards, or 2-cost cards, or even 6-cost cards, or the majority of them be 6-cost cards? That actually makes more sense. Now you might go, Lem, that sounds kind of dumb. No, it doesn't, because the issue that I think the game has is there aren't a different variety of cards in the game that would allow that to happen. You should have unique dynamic interactions where, yeah, you drop the cost of the card of a 6-cost card or a 5-cost card or a 4-cost card down to nothing so that you can play it. Then it would incentivize you to boost the cost or the power of these 1 or 2-cost cards. So again, I'm always about giving players agency, so that's why like cards like Snow Guard are trash and people will never play them. That's why cards like Quicksilver is garbage. Like Quicksilver, if he starts in your hand, he should be worth more than 2. Right? I mean, in power. All Marvel Snap is doing is every season when they make changes, they're just choosing what cards they want people to play with and then bringing down cards they don't want people to play with. And if you think that's fun, then keep on playing Marvel Snap. I think that's a terrible mechanic. I think that's boring, which is why I'm making this video. Again, they want to keep everyone's attention week to week and give you a drip feed of cards because they know they don't have what you really, really want. So you're going to play and you might hang on for a little bit longer, and then hopefully a new card drops or your favorite hero comes and you play. And then another thing and I think this might be the last thing that I'll bring up, is notice how we're not getting any more series drops. Cards are staying at series 5. Cards are staying at series 4. Again, you can say, Lem, who are you to complain? You got Jean Grey, right? Yes, Lem got Jean Grey. I got Jean Grey, and man, my junk is slower than a mug. But let me pull it up. Where is it? It's in my Iron Lockout deck. I got Jean Grey on the first Super Cash thing that I opened up. But I think I played with her like, what, 2 or 3 times, and I was done. Like, I kind of got the feel of Jean Grey, like, oh, this was cool, and I'm done. And we can go on and on and on, right? There's Shuri. Jean Grey could have countered Shuri decks, right? Because Jean Grey could have forced your opponent to play a card in that location, kind of like what's happening now, right? Shuri says you must play the card in this location. Well, Jean Grey could have done that. So again, I mean, I can go on and on. There's tons of cards in the game that they just didn't release fast enough that countered a lot of the meta that was going on. So, to me, it's kind of like Shark Tank. For that reason, I'm out. I've been spending $10 a month for like the last 3 or 4 months. getting the free card, right? In my opinion, that 10 bucks made it a free card. I spent thousands before that, but this game is not worth it. This game is not fun anymore. And I think it's a slowly dying game despite the numbers. And I know the numbers disagree with me tremendously. And again, it may still keep the game alive, right? The amount of players they have, just because the team at Second Dinner is so small, the amount of players they have may keep the game alive. It may. And you can contribute to that, but I'm just not going to do that anymore because this game is just not worth it. And I think everybody's going to see what I've been saying the entire time. I didn't see it with Marvel Avengers. I was very optimistic. I had my eyes wide open, excited, and it just took me a few years, unfortunately. But I'm, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, that's shame on me, right? So, right now, I'm just going to say it like Shark Tank. I'm out. This deal is not a deal that I want to do. I'm no longer excited, and it's great to see they've made some of the changes that they've made, but I think it's a little bit too late. And you're talking to a person who spent quite a bit of money on this game. I can promise you the average person watching this has not spent as much on Marvel Snap. So I put my money where my mouth was, right? I was excited about this game. I invested in this game, and here we are. So if you like the game still, good for you. I think you'll be joining me not too long from now. But the game, I think, is going to continually disappoint. And, I think that's one of the reasons why they had so many bots. Because how many people would be playing at the same time to even, think about that. You don't really have a ton of modes where you can play against actual people. They even promised us in Conquest mode that we wouldn't get any bots, and we still get bots. I still get bots. And they make the claim of like the first game you play is a bot. But then after that, it's not. Is it the first game of every round? Because I'm seeing that. So it's whatever, man. So I'm going to get off my little soapbox. I appreciate those who listen to me, or, if you didn't listen to me, appreciate you either way. But I want to thank you. Again, I'm the Lemesis, your nemesis. You can call me Lem. And as always, if you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, you should get to know him. It'll be the best decision you ever made in your life. Look up the sinner's prayer or the salvation prayer and ask him to come into your life. So peace, love, and hap. Thanks for watching. And I hope you have a great day. This is it. I'm out. No more Marvel Snap. Thank you.